As promised, I've got a nice special program for you. If you want to know more about NASA, I think this is a great time for us to start off that conversation.
Talking Social Security is brought to you by the National Social Security Authority. NASA, a lifelong promise.
That's NASA, a lifelong promise. Quite a lot happening with him, and I think it's always good to have a conversation, especially where misconceptions are concerned, and just trying to understand what NASA actually does. So really excited to be having these conversations with the team. But as you know, last week there was a conference that happened, and I'm really excited to actually have in studio Engineer Shingi Marunza, as well as Principal Inspector of Factories, Mr. Emmanuel Chibanda. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me today. Workshop Engineer Marunza.
Thank you, Miss Red. So we had the engineers workshop held in Masvingo at Urban Lifestyle. The workshop was super. We enjoyed. We had some, it was, to say the least, we takatandara. And as I mentioned last week, the theme was occupational safety and health, technology and the future of work, and we did justice to that theme. We had about 324 delegates coming into place, and these are mainly engineers, but we also had occupational safety and health professionals. We had HR professionals, accountants. Can you believe that we also had medical doctors?
Oh, wow.
Various professionals, they were there. And just to mention as well, we also managed to have some foreigners coming in from Zambia. All the way from Zambia. We had guys coming in from Zambezi River Authority, and this shows the regional cooperation that we have with other countries. And the workshop was officially opened by the Honorable Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Honorable Edgar Moyo, and we also managed to have the presence of Minister Chadzamira, who is the Provincial Affairs Minister for Masvingo. So you can see with
a strong contingency.
Exactly, strong contingency. Yeah.
So in terms of the objectives of the workshop, do you think they were actually met?
I would say, the objectives were met. In my own understanding, Emmanuel maybe would want to expand on that. We had basically two objectives that we had. We wanted to enhance workplace safety, and we also are promoting a culture of continuous safety improvement. Yeah.
So, Mr. Chibanda, maybe you can tap into what he was saying.
Yes, as we were aiming to enhance workplace safety, we actually were aiming to provide a platform for sharing engineering solutions that help eliminate work-related accidents, injuries. Then, as we were also having another key objective of promoting culture of continuous safety, we were encouraging stakeholders to embrace modern safety practices and technological advancement in occupational safety and health.
All right, I like that. I think that the targets were met, or the objectives were actually met, based off what you've said. You also mentioned that there was the Honourable Minister of Labour and Social Welfare in terms of the workshop, but in terms of the key takeaways, because Minister what were some of the key takeaways for some of us who were not there in terms of the speech Yagapiwana Minister?
Actually, the minister touched on critical issues, where he stated the commitment of the government to advocating for fair labor practices, fostering a safe and healthy workforce, which will be important in achieving Vision 2030. He also spoke at length about a new OSH bill, which is in order to curb occupational accident and fatalities, which is coming. He also promised to work towards ratifying Convention 187 through working hand in hand in glove with the social partners. This Convention 187, it's there to provide for systems so much that best practices are adopted at workplaces. He also emphasized the need to incorporate safety and health aspects in all stages of economic cycles, from design process onwards, and the need to take note of climate change on all our infrastructure developments.
Wow, that's actually very interesting. I haven't heard one. No, we also need to include climate change and so forth. So really glad that he actually touched on that one. I think it's very, very important. In terms of the workshop, I was told one of the highlights of the workshop was an industrial site visit. So can you tell us more about these?
Yes, thanks, Ms. Red. So our workshop, our engineers workshop, is structured in a way that one of the crowd pullers or one of the things that we do that that entertains our engineers is the industrial visit. And this year, Ms. Red, we managed to visit 3 companies. 2 of them in Masvingo and 1 of them is in Midlands. We visited Great Zimbabwe Hydro Power Plant. This is a hydro power plant that is in Masvingo, about 38 kilometers away from Masvingo town, and it's a 5 megawatt hydro power plant. And the group that went there, they managed to see an automated monitoring system which is being used to enhance worker safety in energy production. So panobikwa magesi papa, you know, there is an automated safety system that is managing to ensure that workers don't get injured while they are working. We also managed to visit Delta in Masvingo. You know, people were very happy
for the reasons of the tour, or for the reasons of the product.
Both, but we are talking of engineers, so you know they are responsible. They did the other parts after they'd done the visit.
Okay.
So Delta has invested so much in Masvingo. They've got a new plant with modern technology that is able to manage occupational safety and health hazards. And then the last group managed to visit Dinson Iron and Steel Plant. You know, I think you have heard about this one several times. The Dinson Iron and Steel Plant is a massive plant that is located between Midlands, some say Masvingo, and then also Mashonaland East. So Irineche Pakati, and it's about 150 kilometers away from Masvingo. So we managed to take 200 delegates.
Wow.
200 of the 324 delegates that I spoke about. We managed to go. We hired 3 buses and other smaller vehicles. And we went there. This plant is a unique 50 megawatt power plant. You know, that power plant is sufficient to power the whole of Harare.
Wow.
And they are using it to power their plant. Their machines, their equipment, they've got a sintering plant, they've got a blast furnace, and other extruding machines. And you know, what interested the delegates is the automation that they have done to their plant. So now, instead of people getting physical with the metals that are being produced, it has been automated in such a way that the machines just handle it. It's like you know, the recent technology that you see on the television. So those are the 3 companies that we managed to visit. And to top that up, after the visit, during the night, we had a cocktail party for the engineers.
Nice. Because I'm an engineer, not only do something, you know.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. So I mean, obviously at any workshop there is but there also other takeaways which will come through based on the interactions that you may have with the key stakeholders of the workshops. So in terms of my key takeaways, and these are the resolutions.
We had several important recommendations that emerged, but the ones that became key were, number 1, promoting wearable technology for safety. Delegates recommended that industries adopt wearable technology for early detection of hazardous exposures, and NASA will work with companies to encourage this. And also, there was need to take steps to ensure that ratification of Convention 187 for promotional framework for occupational safety and health becomes a reality. The workshop emphasized the need to prepare for the ratification of Convention 187, which sets a global framework for workplace safety. Then we also had one which we can still refer to because we have already achieved, where there was need to have enhanced hazard identification and risk assessment for confined space spaces where we are saying industries were urged to implement hazard identification and risk assessments and establish clear standards operating procedures for working in confined spaces.
Okay, it's always good and fine, gentlemen. Don't say what. But I don't know my workshop with my recommendations. But in terms of following up on these recommendations, because it's obviously very important. There's no need for us to sangane singaite go forward. So tawana my recommendations how is NASA intending on actually following up on these recommendations? Because it's one thing to have them, but it's another thing to actually follow up on them.
That's true, Miss Red. Let me start by saying, as NASA, for all the workshops that we hold, we always try and make sure that all the resolutions that we capture, we address them. And it is our duty and responsibility to make sure that during the next year's engineers workshop or any other event, we address and we tell the delegates what we would have done. So for these ones, what we are going to do, number one, we are going to engage industry stakeholders to track the adoption of wearable safety technology. Wearable safety technology, maybe someone might then say, what is wearable safety technology? These are gadgets that you can put on. You can put on your watch, and then your watch paunoshika mune nzvimbo ine noise hysteric inokuudza kuti ma decibels are exactly. So it then highlights to you that you are now in a very dangerous space. You need to be putting on something. So we are going to encourage industry, and our officers are going to get them educated on this, and then they will start moving in industry. Number two, we are also going to collaborate with policymakers, because pasina hurumende ka apana chatinenge taita because hurumende ndo varizi vechimuti chachona. So we are going to engage with them, and we are also going to make sure that we come up with policies that favor the adoption of wearable technologies. And we are also going to make sure that we collaborate as well. We have got my partners my international partners ana ILO International Labour Organization vanokwanisa kutibatsirawo zvakanyanya, especially paratification ye Convention 187. Convention 187 basically is for promotion of workplace safety. So we are saying once we adopt Convention 187, we are going to make sure that all companies chero pano patiri kutoshanda ipo panapa tiri kutoda kuti titofarira workplace safety
pano pazife
tisvike pano tiudzwa kunzi hapana kana munhu ari kurwara nemusana nenyaya yekuti cheya yakaita sei. So we are also going to do that, and like what Chibanda has said, we are also going to work with local authorities in terms of establishing my SOPs that are used within local authorities.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, I think we've run out of time. There's always so much to talk about. I think we can never fully explore all this, but every Tuesday we're going to be hanging out with NASA, just finding out the different things happening with him. And today we've had in studio Engineer Shingi Marunza, as well as the Principal Inspector Emmanuel Chibanda of Factory. So thank you so much, gentlemen, and hopefully my resolutions takamabata chaenda now forward, and hopefully they'll be able to take that forward as well into their different working spaces. So that's NASA bringing us this fantastic program.
Thank you.
Social Security is brought to you by the National Social Security Authority. NASA, a lifelong promise.